So I can only imagine what the Uber driver was thinking when he pulled up to the hospital at 6:30 a.m. That morning. Um, I walked out of the hospital with my wife, my hand over her. At this point, my hands are literally on fire. I don't have any cuts on my hands. I have no bruises on my hands, but my hands are literally on fire, and I don't know why. I have blood just dried to my nose, caked on my nose. My shirt, I was wearing this lumberjack-esque red and black checkered shirt, and there's literally one button open, or that is not open. It is button at the bottom, and my chest is exposed, and I have white leads attached to me from where they had recently done an EKG and cleared me. And then my jeans, blood completely just dried and caked on my jeans from what had happened. And at this point, I don't really know what had happened. But I get into the Uber, and it is the most silent Uber ride that we have ever had, I think. And you know, but I know why, because this guy's like, what happened to this dude that's getting in the car? We get home, and I'm so tired because I'd been up most of the night. And I just remember going to sleep and just being like, oh, okay, survived. And then I remember getting up and going to the restroom and trying to wash my hands. And the second that the water hit my hands, I knew something was incredibly wrong. And probably the scariest month of my life this past month. But I want to tell everybody here that is a listener, the story of how I broke my nose, how I fell, and how I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to type again, or feel anything in my hands, drive, do normal things again. And the panic, not only from a perspective of personal, but the panic of business, and how very, very quickly the panic of, will the business go on? Will the business work? Because I do a lot of typing. That's part of my gig. The panic of that going away with a phone call because of things that we'd set up in our business 2 years before. So today we're going to tell the story of how good old Adkins almost killed himself, and by accident of slipping in a hallway, and how things that we had done in our business 3 years before made sure that our business was completely safe, even though I was completely non-functional. So let's dive in. Let's do it.
All right, man. Wow. I'm going to turn the reins over to you pretty quick here on this one, because, man, what we're going to dive into today is something that's extremely personal. And I know our listeners are going to be able to take away something extremely valuable from what we talk about. But I think, and you tell me if I'm wrong, this is one of your first public forums that you've had to be able to talk about this, man. And I'll just, on a personal level, dude, I'm just so happy that we are at this point, man.
Me too.
What a scary month or so it's been, on a personal and a professional level. But dude, tell us what the hell is going on. Tell us about what you've had going on this past month or so, because I know it is a doozy.
Well, I don't think there's been a time in the last 10 years where I've gone 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks without posting on social media. And so that happened. And I had a lot of people start to reach out to me and were wondering where I was. Yeah. And, I'll be honest with you, I couldn't type. I couldn't pick my phone up and type to tell people what was going on. Everything hurt.
Well, and you were even noticeably missing from text chains that were on.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
It was insane. It's just insane.
And so, what I wanted to do, as you said, this is one of the first times I've really had the ability to talk about this. And thank goodness I'm 3.5 weeks down the road from this happening to me. And I am probably 90% better. And so I know everything's going to be okay at this point. Fingers crossed. But, but it was very scary for a little while. So what I want to do today is I'm going to tell you guys the story, all our listeners, all our watchers. I want to tell you the story of what happened to me. but how a decision I made a few years ago that was very morbid, that was very scary and like awkward for some of our staff members, and the people on our team, how it turned into everything being okay with a phone call. And so I'm going to walk you guys through this story, and I hope that this is a much different version of the podcast than we normally do, but it's something I feel like is valuable to anybody listening, because this is something that could happen to anybody, and hopefully you take away that from this. So, kind of what happened is this: I had been out with my wife. We'd gone out to dinner, and had a good night. Came home, and we're just kind of doing the end of night stuff. She was in brushing her teeth, and I had taken on the whole letting the dog out, and so. We have a few dogs, but one of the dogs, he lives in my son's room. That's where his room is too, and they keep each other company, and it's fun. So he had been asleep, and I was walking in to let him out. Now I'm not sure what was in the hall that caused me to slip, and the reason I'm not sure about this is when I got back to the house, everything, blood included, had been cleaned up. So I don't know if there was something in the hall beforehand. Every so often there is from other animals and things like that.
Sure.
But basically what happened is this, and I'll just kind of give you guys the walkthrough. I was walking in to let my dog out. Before I actually made it to let my dog out, I don't know exactly what happened. I just remember waking up sort of face down in the floor. And my eyes opening. Yeah, my eyes opening. Not really panicking. This is the really strange thing. Not really panicking, but understanding very quickly that something was terribly wrong. And I remember seeing blood, but I also just remember being like, "You don't need to get up," or maybe you can't get up. And so I just remember being down, and I remember starting to yell help because I know my wife was in there. She didn't hear me at first, and because kind of the way our house is set up.
Yeah.
Finally, I think she kind of heard me, and then I was like, okay, she's close enough that I can really belt out one here. And I yelled help, and she came in, and I'm sure from her perspective, this was extreme panic because there was blood everywhere. Yeah. You all would be surprised the amount of blood that can come out from, and for those of you watching, there's just a tiny gash now that's you can see, but this was something that was not a tiny thing at the time. I'm a bleeder, apparently. So she comes in, and at this point, I don't remember any in between. I don't know if that's because I hit my head or if I literally just passed out. But what happened is the next thing I did, I came to, and there were paramedics in my house. This is probably 2:30 in the morning at this point. There's paramedics in my house, and the paramedics are, amazing. They take care of me. They assess me, make sure that, nothing else is going on. I blank out again, and I wake up, and I just remember I'm in the ambulance and I'm strapped down. From there, I don't remember getting to the hospital. I don't remember really carrying it in. I remember waking up in the hospital, still not panicking. I just was like, well, here we are. And they're doing tests. Apparently they did an EKG on me to check my heart. So they're probably trying to figure out like how I had like passed out. I'm sure they thought, did he pass out, whatever, or did he slip? Fairly certain I slipped. But at this juncture, kind of what happens is I start to wake up, and I realize my face doesn't hurt. The thing that they're super concerned about, that they're x-raying, my face does not hurt at all. What is hitting me is that my hands, from like half, and as a chiropractor, I used to see this a lot, but I don't make the connection at the time. Half of my ring finger and my pinky, and then my forearm down the side on both sides are completely on fire. Wow. Like pins and needles, and it just feels like I said, they're on fire, and like somebody's just jabbing me with needles. And so like I guess I'm complaining about this. They eventually x-ray my hands. There's nothing wrong with my hands, and there's no bruises, there's nothing. We get to about 6 a.m, and they clear me. Like there's literally nothing wrong other than I've broken my nose pretty good because, and I don't know if you guys go back to previous clips, I don't know if you can see it, but my nose is broken. I've got, whatever. And they literally they say, have a good one. Put me in a wheelchair. They take me out, and we don't have a car. Like we took an ambulance ride to the emergency room. So we have to call an Uber, and the Uber picks us up, and we go home. Now at this point, I am so incredibly tired that like, even though my hands are on fire, we go and we lay down, and we're just happy we survived. Like we're both dead tired. We'd been up all night. and you know, we lay down. By the way, my kid, thank goodness, is staying at my parents' this evening, so he wasn't around for any of this,
okay.
and so he's safe. He doesn't know any of this has happened, and he's been asleep this whole time. So I get home and I wake up and my hands hurt. My hands are hurting, and there's this, and I can't do much with them. And I realize this, I can't really pick anything up without it like setting me through the roof. And it's almost as if the best way I can describe it is it's like, think about touching your hand and the sensation. Now, what if that touching your hand was multiplied times 100? And that's what it was. It was almost like this hypersensitivity things. And, I pick up on it, but I still don't pick up on it. But when I turn the water on to wash my hands and the cold water hits, that's when I'm like, oh God, like this is crazy.
Yikes.
So I get some more sleep, and then I'm up. And then for the next few hours, it very much hits me that like this pain is not going away. There was no position I could get into. And it felt like someone had a needle and was jabbing me in this finger every 20 seconds or so. God. And the only thing that I could do, because I couldn't sleep with this pain, I couldn't go to sleep. I couldn't do anything. The only thing I could do is literally I was pacing. And, the first place your head goes in a situation like this is this permanent? It's a very scary place to go to, because you don't go to, oh, I hurt myself and I'm going to heal, which is like, right. That's what's typically going to happen. You think, did I do nerve damage? Is it permanent? As a chiropractor, I'm not thinking there's something wrong with my hands. I'm not thinking there's something wrong with my elbows. It's both sides. I'm thinking there's something wrong with my neck or my upper spine.
Yeah.
And so, the next thing that we do is I somehow get through the night, get a little rest, and get up the next day. And it's just, it's ongoing. Like, it is just absolutely terrible. Anytime I pick anything up, it is, and there's no typing, there's no texting, there's none of this. And it just keeps playing in my head. So we schedule an appointment with my general practitioner. They x-ray my forearms. Nothing wrong there. And then finally I schedule a visit with my chiropractor the next day, because they prescribed me some medication. Wasn't really helping. Like, anything they were giving me, nothing was tackling what was going on in my hands. Schedule a visit with my chiropractor. He does an x-ray of this area, this, kind of mid-thoracics or in upper and neck. And we kind of start to see some signs, and it's not bad. But we start to see some signs of whiplash. Now, chiropractor just, and I know this, chiropractor says, listen, this is what's going on. And you got 4 to 6 weeks, and it's going to feel like this. It's going to feel like this. Then it's going to feel like this. And then it's going to be gone. And that was, that made me feel a little better. But that was probably Wednesday of that first week. But that's where things started to go. Now my hands, I can pick things up, I can type. I can't really play guitar yet. That's extremely difficult for me. But almost everything else, I was able to drive after 3 weeks. Almost everything else I'm able to do. So I'm moving the direction I want to go. But where I want to focus today, is this. What happened Monday morning after this happened? So it was a Saturday night, Sunday morning, and got through that first day. But I knew Monday morning I had to talk to my team, because we had things going on this week. We had business that was to be done, and I couldn't do it. I literally could not do it. Not only did I look terrible, so there was no podcasting, otherwise people are going to think I got in a fight. I couldn't probably sit long enough to do the podcast. And so there was a phone call that happened that Monday morning, and that phone call put an assembly line of things into action that made everything okay. And so I picked the phone up Monday morning. It was probably 8:30, 9 a.m. And I called Alicia on our team. And for those of you that don't know, Alicia is our director of operations, and she just makes sure that everything sort of goes. If anybody on the team needs anything, Alicia's got them. We have to talk to lawyers. We have to talk to accountants. Like, Alicia is the central manager of all things happening and coordinator. And I told Alicia, this is what happened. This is where I'm at. I don't know how long this is going to be. This is before I saw the chiropractor, by the way. So I had like no resolution. This is before I saw my general practitioner. No resolution. I said, I don't know what's happening, but I can't do these things. My hands don't work. I don't know how long it's going to be. I don't know if this is permanent, but my hands don't work. And so I made a phone call. That phone call lasted probably about 2-3 minutes. And then, I don't know exactly what happened. You probably know some of this, Marshall, but from there, Alicia picks the phone up. She starts calling meetings and she starts getting things together. Within about 6 hours, there was a plan to take us. And by the way, this is probably, we're probably early mid-November, at this point.
Yeah.
Within 6 hours, there was a plan to take us through the end of the year. Like everything business-wise, promotions plan, things happening. And number one, props to Alicia, props to the rest of our team for being ready for this. But what I want to really kind of get out is about 2-3 years ago, I had a meeting with Alicia and I said, listen, we're not ready for if I get hit by a bus. This business is still extremely dependent on me doing weekly work. And we're not ready. We're just, the business would shut down within a month if something happened to me. And we have to start getting ready for these things. And so you don't solve that overnight, by the way. You start having the conversation. And, Alicia at the time was like, this is extremely morbid. Are you okay? Like, what's going on? Do we need to talk? Do we need to get you into counseling? And I said, no, but what I want you to understand is you look at your business, things are going great, but what are the weaknesses? What are the things that could happen? And so we started making plans and we started laying out what would happen if something happened to me. Now we were going extreme, but this was one of those events. I couldn't do anything. And so we started mapping out, hey, we've got all these past promotions that we've done of great products. We have all these great products. We have, email promotions that attach to them that, you can dive into those and you can build out a series of week by week promotions off of great products that we've done in the past. And this is how it's done. This is how you put it together. And so over the next couple of years, Alicia and Ashton really started training, and we would do this every so often. I would literally take a step back, and this was so hard for me, but I would take a step back and be like, Ashton, I need you to put these emails together, edit them, and get them going. And, so every 2 months we do kind of one of these drills, and at the time I didn't even see it as a drill. I was just like, we talked about this. We should probably do it. And, we'd get the result. We'd kind of see where things went. And, it was really funny that first week I was panicked. And the first promotion they put out, $10,000 come through from this promotion. It was 10 grand. 10 grand comes through on this promotion that they picked. I didn't pick. I was just, my only thoughts for that first week were get out of pain. Right. Like as scary as that is, but it was just stay out of pain. Do everything you can to minimize pain and discomfort. And so my head wasn't in the game at all. But like I look up and 10 grand had come through the first week from the promotion. And so everything that we put into play started to work. And I think that what I'm really trying to get across to anybody that's listening to this is in your business right now, what happens if something happens to you? What is the protocol? Now, listen, you may be a key person in your business where like it just doesn't work without you. And you may think this business doesn't work without me, but I guarantee you, if you put your mind to it, you can come up with some things. So let's say like, you're a chiropractor. I actually had this scenario when I was a chiropractor. If something were to happen to me, who's a friend that we can get to come in and adjust patients 2 days out of the week, that they could take some time off of their business. And I had that conversation. It wouldn't be ideal. It wouldn't be the best, but our patients would be taken care of when I was the only key person that was there. How would we pay the bills? How would we do all these things? And so I think the thing is every single person out there, one of the most important things that you can do for your business is go with that. If I get hit by a bus scenario, what does my team do so that their income continues to come in, the business stays alive until we can figure out something a little better? Now, take it a step further, I haven't talked about this, but there is an even further scenario of, okay, if, we have to sell the business because I actually do get hit by a bus, or who is the person we call? And those are the things. You have to have a plan in place for when bad things happen. Now, I had never tested this. I hadn't, there was no reason to actually test this fully until this last month. And this last month comes in and, I get to the end of the month and the report comes in at the end of November and we hit our budget. Like we hit exactly, we beat our budget of what we were supposed to bring in. And, it's incredibly hard not to be proud of your team and the work that they do when you're not around. And I'm telling you guys, for probably 3 weeks, and I've gotten a little better every week, so I've checked in a little more. But like I'd show up to a meeting in week 2 and I put in an hour long in a meeting and I was ready to go to sleep. Like I didn't have any energy. Even like week 3, I showed up and I was like, I got done with it. I was like, man, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And so having people in place that know how to run things and know how to generate income in your business without you is incredibly important. Now, were they selling products that I had done 3 years ago, 2 years ago? Sure. Yeah. Like they were selling stuff that we had done before, but the ability to actually know what to do and how to put the puzzle pieces together, that was the thing that was pretty powerful. So, where are we? Like right now?
Yeah, I'd love to know specific. There's so much I want to dig into here. So you rein me in where we need to rein in, but I'd love to know about those drills that you did. So specifically, what kind of how on earth do you practice to get ready for your head honcho, fall when he's taking the dog out? Like, what on earth do you do to get ready? So what kind of drills? You talk specifically, and drills really sticks with me because that makes perfect sense. Like, if we're preparing for a tornado or an earthquake or something like that, we got to be prepared for disaster to strike. So what are the things that what are the protocol that we're going to follow? What are the check marks we're going to knock off to be able to do that? So what do those drills look like?
The first is situational awareness. It's not like when we put a product up for sale, I'm not thinking about, we have all these products that we could put up and any of them will do. It's thinking about what's going on around us at the moment. Like, what did we sell 3 weeks ago? What did we sell last week? What are we going to possibly sell in the future? And knowing this product, these 3 out of, the 20, 30 products that we had in the tank that we could go with, what are the 2 or 3 that work best?
Yeah.
And having somebody on the team that could do that. So one of the things that I would do is I would say, hey, I don't have anything planned for 2 weeks from now. What should we do? And asking Ashton that, and Ashton being the person that is probably the most in depth with our products because she is always on the calls when I do the recordings and things like that. And putting her in a position of, hey, what do you think? And she runs our support desk too. So she has this interesting insight into what's going on. Yeah. And so I was like, what product would you do? And having her pick. And like the first time she did it, it was okay. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't, the best. And by the way, I'll just say this, sometimes I come up with a product and it doesn't do well. And like, I've done this for forever, but having her do it again a couple months later and having her do it again a couple months later and being like, hey, I'm not going to do the emails. I want you to actually program the emails in for this. Here's the old ones. What needs to change about these so that they're current? What about this doesn't line up with, okay, I was talking about the winter in this and it's summer. How do you change these emails so that they actually make sense? And so having her actually write the emails and program the emails in, because most of our promotions, it's email based and we send out the emails and we do this. And step by step, every few months, giving a piece of the puzzle and saying, okay, now it's yours. Now it's yours. And then getting to a spot to where a promotion's over and you're saying, okay, well, this is what you earned and great job. And let me show you something. If you would have done this and this, you would have gotten 10 extra sales. Okay, well, the next time she knows to do that. And so it's really arming your people with information, but not just telling them what to do, actually taking a step back from your business and letting them do it and understand that the first few times your team's not going to do it just like you do it. Now, notice I didn't say your team's not going to do it right. Now, this is a big difference. And I think it's important to understand this is there's so many ways to do this stuff. The way I do it is not necessarily right, but it's just the way I do it. Sometimes it's hard to distinguish that, okay, they did this, they didn't do it the way I was going to do it. That's not necessarily wrong. Let them go. Let them put it out there and let them see the results. And I think that's the thing is we were doing these quote unquote drills where they would pick the product. They would write the emails, not necessarily right, but they'd use the old emails. They would tweak them and they would make sure that, everything was set up, everything was programmed. Letting them get on the other side of that and understanding that the money that was made with that promotion was money that they made for us, not me. And I finally getting to a spot, probably early in this year where I was like, it's all you. Go with it. Let's see where we go. And being able to take a step back and actually give someone else the reins, win, lose, or draw, I think is important sometimes. And you have to put yourself in a position where you can do that. And we worked very, very hard, to keep our finances, our cash flow good so that we could take those drills. And I'm telling you, last month, when things got hairy, I wasn't present for 2-3 weeks at all. and watching, everybody step up and do things that I didn't even remember that I taught them. That was pretty interesting. And so, I love looking at how this worked and how the last 3 weeks everybody stepped up, everybody like knocked it out of the park. They were probably freaked out because I was freaked out too. But and then looking back and realize we have literally been training for this for 2 or 3 years, and everybody's ready because of that. It was a good feeling to see not only that we were ready, but to see us succeed. And the big thing that I wanted to that I'm going to make sure that I do in like this next week when we have our team meeting is make sure everybody knows how well we actually did because of what they did. And I half of the stuff that we do in this business too is making sure that the people that you're giving these tasks to, are they actually confident? Yeah. People don't get confident with you teaching them stuff and then bringing knowledge. People get confident by doing it and getting the desired result. Yep. They're probably not going to get the desired result the first 2 or 3 times they do it because it's new. But drilling it over and over again in a healthy way, meaning we didn't just drill this one in 1 month and just go and then stop. We slowly did it over time. And like I said, giving people that confidence that they could do those tasks and they could be successful with it absolutely shaped the results that we got. And like I said, I think that every single person out there listening to this, that's the thing. Are you drilling your team to be able to handle the business and make decisions that will make you successful, even if you are incapacitated at the moment?
Man, what a from your standpoint, what a good feeling it's got to be to have gone through those drills and set certain plans in places, and then here you are on this side of it. Damn, it feels good for a plan to come together, right? Like it's a good feel, and it's funny. It reminds me, and this is a weird correlation, but stick with me for a minute. But like we talked about, in some recent text chains, we're talking about this new movie coming out, Avatar, right?
Oh yeah, Avatar.
And we talk about the fact that James Cameron, from a directorial standpoint, we're like, we've got some mixed opinions on whether or not we might have missed some really good James Cameron stuff over the years because he was so dialed into this Avatar project and has spent so much time on it. Right. But, I get the feeling, I know he did feel this way the first one came around. I get the feeling on this one come around, he's going to put enough money in his pocket to go, you know what? I spent my time, I put my plan together, and now my plans come together. And you tell me a little bit how you feel about that, but it correlates a little bit to what we're talking about here.
Well, so the funny thing is, it's like I'm not a huge fan of the Avatar movies, but what I am a fan of is what is James Cameron, and just being this dedicated to something for this long and seeing it through. And I think the thing that you have to really understand about Avatar 2, and what James Cameron is able to pull off here is it is that level of dedication. Obviously, James Cameron has had success in the past, and that has shaped why people believe in him. But it is the attention to detail. It is the direction. It is the leadership that person has that causes people to pour the kind of money that they have into this movie. So you got to think this is like a $2 billion endeavor that it is cost to put this together. But there are people that believe in the long-term value of what's being created because of the belief behind, the culture that James Cameron has created behind this movie and why it's successful and why this story needs to be told. And, it's kind of the same thing that we do in our company. What is the culture that you establish that gets people to believe, both your team members that are helping you build this thing, as well as the people that are financing and investing in what you're doing? If you are organized, if you lead, if you prepare for things, then you are setting yourself up for success. Now, do I know if Avatar is going to be successful overall? No. But I tell you what I won't do. I won't bet against James Cameron in this, even though I'm not an Avatar person, because usually that's where my opinion goes. Do I like it? Do I not like it? Right? Or do I think a lot of other people like it? But what I do believe is I believe that because of the way that this project was created and the way that Avatar 2 was created and the history behind this with James Cameron, that it is absolutely going to be successful, even though maybe it's not something that I'm into. I mean, like, I'll be honest with you, I'm going to see it because I want to see what $2 billion buys you, and I love James Cameron. Yep. So I think that if you get into that mode, yes, I think the thing is you want to build something that is more than making money. You want to build something that is, I'm building this because I want to tell this story. I want to leave this impact on the world. When you do that, you get people to actually buy in. When you get people to actually buy in, You have people that start to really understand how the business works. And I guess the thing is in our situation, I am extremely impressed at the things I drilled my team on that they did over the last few days.
Yeah.
But what I'm like blown away by is the things that I didn't drill them on, and the decisions that were made that had nothing, that there was no way to prep for it, that I looked at it and I said, that is absolutely the right choice that they made. That absolutely put us in a good position. They absolutely took care of the brand. They took care of what we were doing. They respected what we were doing, and they made decisions that leveled us up. And I'll be honest with you, when I got done really looking at what happened, I said, I never need to go back to fully doing things the way that I was doing things before this happened. I absolutely need to start taking more of a step back and letting my team run the show at a higher level. And I think that's the thing, is like, you know, as scary as all this was, the thing that I take out of it is, on the other end of this, I have amazing people. Now, I have fought to keep this team in place. Like, you know, someday I'll tell that story. And I have fought to bring certain people into our community, you included. Like, that was, you know, you're somebody I really wanted to have. And that's the thing. When you get to a situation like this, you're like, I felt pretty smart. You know, I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think I'm that smart most of the time. You know, I think I'm doing the best I can, and I'm a hustler. But when this went down, I got on the other end of it, and I'm almost completely on the other end of it. And I felt pretty stinking smart because, like I said, the business is actually better when my team does their thing and I get out of their way to let them do it. And I think that's the more I can be in the position of, you know, guiding and, you know, being a consultant to my own people rather than being a worker in my own business. And we talk about this all the time, right? But it's hard sometimes to let go of where you think you bring value, because that's the value you attach to your day. Like, this is the value that I have in the world. And so if I let it go, what am I even doing? You start to understand that, you know, in real business, the value that you provide, if you really want to like hit the stratosphere, is hiring great people, training them really well, and then instilling a culture in them that, like, with the things that you couldn't train, they knew exactly what to do.
No, absolutely. And you've already hit several nuggets and lessons that you picked up from this particular piece of adversity. And it's funny, adversity is the right word too, because, and we talk about it a lot in a lot of different ways, and we have over the last several years, because whether it's a freaking global pandemic, or whether we're going through economic downturn, or, you know, you fall when you're taking your damn dog out, you know, being able to work through things is, to me, I mean, it's what separates a successful business from one that's not going to be, right? So I'd love to know if you've got some particular, you know, because I know there's going to be some people listening to this going, oh God, they're listening to this, shit, I'm not ready for if I trip over the dog. You know, I'm not ready for this. So what kind of advice do you have for those business owners, those entrepreneurs out there that are a little nervous hearing this, and maybe they're not quite set up right now to handle this adversity? What are some things they could go out and do right now?
I think the worst thing that you can do is just keep ignoring it and keep thinking that you have to be the centerpiece of things. And like, that's how you get yourself in trouble. And I've seen several businesses actually from a bird's eye view lately that they're in real trouble right now because they've never had this conversation. It's okay to not be prepared. The first step is admitting you have a problem, right?
Yeah.
And I think, to be really honest, you know, for me, the first step of this was to go to my staff and really be humble, you know, the people on my team, and say, listen, this is a possibility. We're not prepared for it. And I don't have a plan for you. I don't have a plan for you. And that was literally the conversation I had 2-3 years ago with Alicia. I said, I know I'm supposed to be the leader. I know I'm supposed to be the one that gives you a plan. I don't have a plan for this, but this could be a real problem. I need your help creating a plan. And that started a conversation. And, you know, that, thank goodness, it didn't happen the next week. But it started a conversation that we started having quite often. And yeah, kind of a morbid conversation that, you know, we called it the get hit by a bus scenario. And I literally have said that, you know, so many times over the last couple of years. But it started a conversation that we became comfortable with the conversation. So we started building plans and we started putting things in place. And so I think this is it, is if you have good people on your team, if you don't have good people, get good people, you know, figure this out, figure it out, pay people a little better to get the kind of people that you want to have. be a better leader. That's the first thing you got to focus on. But if you got good people on your team, bring them into the conversation. Tell them about what you're afraid of. People are not scared of people that are honest with them, as long as they understand that they're trying to develop a plan for something. And that was me. I was very humble with this, and I started talking about it. It was uncomfortable at first, but then we started really building towards it. Anybody out there, especially if you're like I said, like a chiropractor or a dentist, where you have to be present into these things, really start thinking about what would happen if you couldn't. And could you bring somebody in a few days a week? Who would that person be? Start thinking about these things. And it's amazing. Everybody in the beginning thinks that they're a critical linchpin to their business, and the business could not survive without them. That's natural. We all like to believe that we have some talent that is not present, that nobody could fill in. But that's actually a prison. That's actually a prison. And if you think about your business that way, you don't actually have a business. You just have a fancy job. And if you start thinking about your business in a way that you could bring people in to fill in pieces that you currently fill, that's when you start to really create a business. And I think that was the thing, is over the years, I had created products that could sell without me. It's just I wasn't doing much of that. Yeah. And really teaching the team how to do that, but then watching how they adapted, because we had such a good group of people. That was key. And so, from the start right now, I think, anybody that's kind of trying to say, okay, I'm in trouble. Number one, do you have good people that you trust with your business? If you don't have good people that you would trust with your business, it's time to look in the mirror and do something about that, because why are they still there? You gotta take care of that. Number two is, are you having the conversation with them? If something happened to me, what would we do? Let's talk about this. And then let's start drilling it. Let's really think about this. If you're, like I said, if you're somebody in your business, who's somebody I can bring in one day out of the week because I maybe want to go on a vacation for a couple days. You're fine, but you go on vacation and you bring it in and you actually go through the process. Start drilling those things a little bit at a time now, so that if things go down, your people know what to do. And I think that's it. It's not something that happens overnight. It's something that's going to take you months to years to get down. But if you have your falling over a dog scenario, and you break your nose, you can't use your hands like I was, had happened to me. I tell you what, I woke up a couple weeks later, and I say woke up because that's when my head actually got back to, I could think about these things, and everything's okay. And your business hasn't, gone down at all. It's doing really, really well. That's when you understand that, you're in a good spot. And like I said, I tell you what, I thought there were times I thought these conversations we were having were stupid and needless. But it certainly saved us, and we had an excellent month. And me being kind of at that 90% better range, but still not 100%. I know that we're good. And like I said, I'm very, very thankful. Number one, not to be dead. Number two, to not be too horribly disfigured. Number three, to have my hands back. But number four, the big lesson out of this is we have this amazing group of people that we have working at our company. Let them do the job and get out of their way. And when they are not achieving the results that they want to be achieving, step in and help, but don't do the work. Let them do the work. Let them guide it. And I think work satisfaction is much better when people know that they are the ones that made it rain, not you. And I think that, when you get to a place to where you're not the one that is responsible for that, your income starts to go up when you get it right, because now you are no longer the problem. And I think that's the number one thing you start to realize in a situation like this is, I typically am the log jam in our company. And the more we can get that out of the way, the more our company can do and scale. And the big lesson for me, man, is I don't want to go back to the way things were before I got hurt. Yeah. I want to continue to drill and to continue to find ways to do more, and to be more consistent without me having to come in and save the day and put out fires. And I think that, that's a really beautiful thing when you start off and your staff and your team kicked ass for you. And now it's just building on that foundation.
Man, that's good stuff. Lots of good advice there. And so fast forward to right now, this moment. How are you feeling? How are things going? What's the current status? You said about 90% usage of the hands. Like how are we progressing, and what else is left? Are you back to full regular schedule, all that?
I would say I'm probably, work schedule. I'm probably at about 80%.
Okay.
This has been the most busy day that I've had so far. And
Yeah.
that's been good. I really enjoyed it because it's kind of given me some energy. I've had trouble sleeping at night because number one, my hands were waking me up. But number two is I wasn't able to do enough through the day to tire myself out.
Oh, yeah.
And so, so being able to do more is going to get me back on a schedule. The only thing, I'm able to type now. I'm able to do I can drive. I can do a lot of those things. The big thing that I'm like aiming for right now, like what's my next goal that I'm aiming for is to be able to play the guitar. And because I can't really do that right now, like I can do it. I can do the chords. It doesn't really hurt, but like I run out of steam like within a few minutes. Like I'm just there's so much input that it's like my brain's exhausted. And so I want to be able to sit down and play guitar for 20 minutes. That's my next goal. And then after that, I want to be able to go out and be able to play because I was playing 3-hour shows before.
Yeah.
And I had a gig actually 2-3 days ago that I had to cancel because there was just no way. And so that's my next build. And like, I think the thing is like, I know there's other things that I probably can't do, but as I've been sort of rehabbing, I've been trying to find things that I would do on a normal basis. And can I do that yet? And so like, that's kind of where I'm at right now. And so the good news for me is like, there has been a constant progression in the right direction. I've not really ever hit a wall that has made me think, oh my gosh, we're stopping. We're not getting where we need to go. And so,
awesome.
I feel good. And like I said, I just want to say I feel incredibly grateful that we have, all of our listeners, all of our customers. You all are absolutely amazing. I was so scared that I wouldn't be able to come back and talk to you the same way and wouldn't be able to interact. And, I don't want to run our business necessarily the same way that we were always, but like I cherish this interaction and this platform that we get. And I was terrified that was gone. And to be sitting here now and to be doing this again and to be talking to our crew and hopefully sharing something that they can take that will reverberate in our community in a good way. It's extremely great to see that it's getting there, and I am insanely grateful that this wasn't something that was a lot worse, and insanely grateful for the team to make sure that our brand, my baby, Serial Progress Seeker, was in extremely good hands while I couldn't keep it in my hands. So yeah,
man, same. I'm just so happy that we're recording this today. Like I said it already, because it means you're well enough to be back in this game. It means we're back getting to share this time together. I know that this experience obviously had to be extremely scary, but it's awesome that you made your way through it and you're to this point and you've got this outlook to see the extremely positive things that have come from such a freaking weird and crazy and wild situation. And we're winding down the year, man. We're winding down 2022. This is going to be one of our final episodes of the year, and you need to get back to that guitar. You need to be. It's time to be playing Christmas carols. You need to be. Right. You need to be loading those up right now. So I'm hoping that we're able to use this to kind of really springboard into 2023. And I know our entire team is just going to keep noticing all these great lessons and all this great advice that we've all just pulled from this pretty wild experience.
It was a trip, no pun intended. But I tell you what, the things that I think we all pulled out on this is huge. And like I said, anybody out there that's listening to this right now, start taking the steps. I promise there will be a point, even if it's just you want to take a long vacation, there will be a point where this, comes in handy if you start taking the steps to put your business in that place. Even if you're a solo practitioner, even if you're by yourself, just start thinking about the things that need to happen. If you can't do these things, or, better yet, you don't want to do those things for a little bit. And I promise if you start thinking about it, you will get there. We have a very smart base of people that listen to us, and it's not so much not being able to figure it out. It's just starting to go down that path. And if you guys do that, I know you'll be able to. So, I want to wish everybody well. I know we're getting at the end of the year. And so I hope that this was something that was valuable